Hello and welcome to this version 1 webinar on Oracle Java SE Universal Subscriptions, a new change for January 2023 and onwards. My name's Paul Bullen. I'm a Principal Oracle License Consultant for version 1. I've been working with version 1 since 2009 and I've been dealing with Oracle licensing since 2001. My job here is to help customers understand and navigate the complex world of Oracle licensing and to help them understand from an independent point of view what their rights and obligations are and help them understand the best way to get the most out of their software assets with Oracle. A bit of background on Oracle's Java licensing, which has changed over the last few years. So previously, you could kind of think of Oracle Java as being free or no charge. There were some caveats to that. There were some understandings and misunderstandings about the rights, but most people had the opinion that old Java has always been free. In 2019, Oracle introduced a change whereby a subscription will be required for certain releases of Java 8 onwards. That was security patches as well as support that you were paying for there via a subscription. Java 11 was the same, had the same sort of subscription model in place. Java 17 and onwards, for the first sort of initial release of that, was under a no fees terms and conditions metric. Later releases of Java 17, as and when they are made available, will be charged for under a similar subscription mechanism to Java 8, U211 and Java 11 through to 16. So people got used to this sort of mechanism. They understood that if they had certain versions of Java or if they were using commercial features, then they would need to have a subscription in place. And that subscription was obviously done on a periodic term, usually on a yearly basis with a sort of year's renewal. Could be done for multi-years as well if possible. And that was done on fairly familiar metrics to most people. That was named user plus, the people who had access to Java, and processors where the software was installed and or running. And people got used to this mechanism. It was very familiar from dealing with other Oracle technology products such as database. And people had got used to that idea and they understood how they needed to count these metrics and pay Oracle appropriately. So this new universal subscription doesn't have any change to when you need a subscription. So the same conditions apply as they did previously. You may have a coverage via another Oracle product. You may have rights inherent in that product. As long as that's licensed properly, then still there's no extra subscription required. You may have products which claim to include Oracle Java as part of the subscription or as part of the license you have with that software vendor. I always urge caution around that. Make sure you've read the terms and conditions with that vendor to make sure that's actually the case and that they are actually acquiring the license on your behalf and that there's something in place to protect you. This table to the right here shows the requirements on when you need a subscription in place. Caveats apply. There's obviously a lot of detail behind this table. There's a lot of sort of assumptions built in. With all of these different type of agreements, it's worth looking at the terms and conditions. There's different terms and conditions based on which version you're talking about, which release, and there's multiple contracts and agreements you need to understand to establish whether you need a subscription or not. So things like estate management, usage measurement across the estate were really important for the processor and named user metric. They are now less important with this new metric. This new metric, as we'll see, is based on employee, and therefore counting the estate, counting the servers and the named user behind it becomes less relevant. It still has an impact if there's a potential where you think you may have no Oracle Java that needs a subscription, or if you're at the upper end of Oracle's limits, whereby they say there's a limit of 50,000 processors for which you must agree with Oracle separately another agreement outside the employee metric. So the employee metric, you can see it on screen there, looks a bit wordy. The simple way of looking at this is it's your employees plus the employees of an outsourcer who's providing support to your business. Now, the important point to look at underneath that is this is not an employee user metric. There's no basis of how many people are using this software or getting benefit from it. It's quite simply the number of employees you have in your organization. So again, we're not considering the number of people who have access to Java. It's just your employee population. So the level of usage you have is irrelevant. If you have one installation which requires a subscription, all your employees and your outsourcers employees who are helping your business will also need to have that subscription in place. I can't stress that enough. The level of usage you have is no longer relevant, unless, of course, you can get that down to zero, or you can move to versions of Java or other distributions of Java which are not covered by this subscription. So why have Oracle done this? It seems like a pretty major change to most people's estates. If you kind of conceptualize your business as this organization is seen here, with a multitude of servers and users out there with access or use of Java, Oracle didn't have much sight of that. There was a bit of a brick wall whenever they came to negotiate with customers to get a license subscription in place. So what generally was happening was customers were isolating their environments, minimizing them as much as possible, and releasing a little bit of information to Oracle to say, here's what we're using, can we have a subscription for that, please? I think it's fair to say Oracle found that frustrating. They couldn't get sight of the wider estate. They couldn't really get proper audit rights to come in and review these estates. That would take a lot of effort. A Java audit would be quite complicated. So they've kind of turned that model on its head, and they've basically said, we don't need to see the estate anymore. That's too complicated. It wasn't working for anyone. So all they do now is they look at your annual reports. There's an easy metric to see in there, which is employees. And that's now the basis they're going to put the license requirement in place. So what about your current situation? If you have an existing license with Oracle, an old legacy Java license perpetual in place, then that's great. Keep those terms. They are perpetual. The licenses are perpetual. You should keep that in place. If you've got a more new sort of subscription, which would be sort of introduced around 2019 or so, Oracle have said that they will honour those renewals and that they'll make those terms and conditions repeatable and something that you can renew on the same basis that you had previously. We're yet to see how this will actually transpire. You know, if you want to change your contract quantities up or down, we're yet to see whether Oracle will honour on that basis. They have, of course, got the right to refuse any such renewal and say it's not being approved and move you to the employee metric, which could be in their interests if they don't agree with the numbers you have subscriptions in place for. If you have no subscriptions at all, and that's quite a lot of companies and enterprises out there, people haven't got round to it, you're probably going to be forced onto the employee-only metric, or the employee metric that we've previously discussed. So this will mean that straight away you can work out the sort of cost this will mean to you. So can Oracle. They will know what that number is, and they are probably likely to approach you fairly soon to say, we have some evidence of you using this. We know how many employees you have, so here's the money you owe us for the Java subscription. So moving on to audit and what that would look like. So it's not quite as simple as you might expect. As I said earlier, there's multiple contracts in place. There's multiple agreements in place. There's multiple sort of conditions. If you consider your whole Java estate like this, obviously there'll be some non-Oracle Java in that estate. You'll have some Java which may be covered by an existing license or subscription if you've bought one previously. You may have some of the newer versions, which these are the sort of latest Java 8 updates from April 2019 onwards, up to Java 17. These are covered by what's called the OTN Java License Agreement. So that particular subset of the Java estate you may have does have audit rights in place for it. So does a subscription or license agreement you might have. The rest of the estate doesn't really have proper audit rights for Oracle to come in and audit the rest of the estate. So really, they only have rights to come and audit the particular subsets that I've highlighted there. It's also worth noting that the OTN agreement does allow some usage without a subscription in place. So it's worth reading the terms and conditions as to what that actually covers you for, what you could maybe use without having a subscription in place. So it's not the case that if you automatically have things under the OTN agreement, then you need a subscription in place. Read the terms and conditions, understand what it covers you for, what it doesn't cover you for. It's also fair to say that Oracle do track OTN downloads or Java downloads under the OTN agreement, and they do that by email addresses, so they can tie that back to your company and sort of highlight who's downloaded the software and use that to sort of prove to you that there is some usage of this Java out in your estate. What are you using it for? What sort of volumes are out there? Remember that one single installation or usage of Java which is not covered by the OTN, which is downloaded under those terms and conditions, which needs a subscription in place, will mean all your employees will need to be licensed. So you really need to have an awareness of these installations out on your estate and what they're being used for. If you have got the legacy subscriptions or Java license, perpetual license, then standard audit rights apply there. So that's typically 45 days notice with reasonable assistance being provided by you and no unreasonable detriment to your business operations as part of that audit. Pricing wise, Oracle have laid out a tiered pricing model for this, which inherently suggests that they're not going to apply any significant discounts to the prices you see on screen there. So expect to pay pretty much what's on screen there. That's just the volume based model that Oracle have used for this, so don't expect to enter into massive negotiations about reducing these prices. This is an annual fee. The price you see on screen there is per month per employee, so quite simple calculation to work that out. Oracle have placed limits on what this subscription can apply to and what this pricing applies to, and you can see the limits there. It's 50,000 employees. If you have more than that, or if you have more than 50,000 processes on your servers where Java is installed, then you need to contact Oracle and agree a separate agreement over and above the prices you see there. So again, if you do have a very large estate, it's really important that you measure and understand the size of your estate and the number of server processes involved in running Java. So a lot of people are coming to us and asking us about this. It's causing a lot of discussion and a lot of debate, a lot of questions. So the options available to you are, well, you've got to understand your estate. Each person and enterprise's needs are going to be different depending on your history and what you currently have in place, the way you use Java. So you've really got to know your estate, know what your needs are, understand your deployments. You've got to take your total list of deployments out there in your estate, filter them, classify them, take out the ones which aren't relevant. If you know there's a product out there which needs the latest version of Java, it's under the subscription and there's just no way of getting around that or moving to OpenJDK or a similar distribution, then you're going to need the employee metric. It may be sometimes a bit easier just to short circuit the process if you have situations like that where you know you definitely need to have the latest and greatest version of Java in your estate. If you only have old Java, which we see a lot of people having out there, or you have non-Oracle Java out in your estate, then again, if you understand your estate and you can genuinely say you have no subscriptionable versions of Java out there in your estate, then you may be able to continue on that basis, bearing in mind you'll have old unsecure software without support out there. And you also need to make sure that no one then goes and downloads one of these updates which needs a subscription and then suddenly makes you non-compliant. So, as I've said a few times, any single bit of chargeable use will require you to have a subscription in place for all your employees. If you have got an existing contract, try and renew on that basis, otherwise you're going to have to pay for an employee license. Just looking at alternatives and moving away from Oracle, again, a very common question that we have from people, and we've seen many people try to move away from Oracle Java across the board. It's a very difficult proposition. We've seen limited success with that basis. I think the impetus and the desire to do it will be stronger now, rather than paying a large subscription fee every month or year overall. You would again have to guarantee every single bit of Java that needs a subscription is removed from your estate and maintain that position forevermore. And considering moving to an alternative is non-trivial, especially if you're using older versions of Java. Java 8 in particular is quite tricky to move between different distributions. If you're using Java 11 and onwards, it's a lot easier to move between the different versions of Java and the different vendors who provide Java and Java updates. So, in summary, this is a major change. It's going to affect everyone out there pretty much. It's going to mean major costs for most people's estates, maybe completely unexpected costs, especially when you may have been consolidating your environment, sort of limiting deployment of Oracle Java as much as you possibly can. Now's the time to take a checkpoint, take a bit of a breather, see what your situation is, look at the options available to you. If you don't have a subscription or any sort of license in place, expect to have contact from Oracle at some point. You need to know what your position is, what your stance is, what your requirement is, and highly likely expect an audit at some point. Obviously, we would recommend you get expert independent help from ourselves here at Version 1. We're talking to many customers about this, many very large enterprises globally. We have a collective knowledge about how these organizations are approaching it, what the art of the possible is, what we're seeing Oracle do. And that will obviously evolve as people sort of move through this process and understand what these changes mean. And also, if there's any changes on the Oracle side of things, they may update the metric, for example, or change the pricing, because this is going to have such a big impact for every single customer out there. So that concludes this short webinar. I'm sure you have lots of questions. We hope you do. Our contact details are below. We're more than happy to talk to customers and to answer any specific questions you have. We also have lots of collateral on our website. Look out for that on LinkedIn, etc., which we encourage you to go and have a look at. Otherwise, please drop us a line, reach out to us, and we'll share our knowledge. We're more than happy to do that and to make you feel comfortable about your position and help you get the best understanding of what it means to you. Thank you very much.